Hi, it's Laura at Readathon Tarot and Books. Thanks for stopping by my channel today. This is my end of month update for June 2024. I'm filming a little ways into July now, a little bit later than usual, but I am on vacation. I took this week off from work and I'm happy to say that the weather is wonderful, and so I'm just having a great time and I have some time to do some filming, which is great. I have, as per usual for monthly updates, some general kind of life stuff, followed by decks I've been working with the most in June, books I've read, and a little look at my deck and oracle kind of wish list collection situation. So in terms of life updates, June was good. One of the highlights for me for the month of June so far, June is actually over. The highlight I'm going to talk about is not, but the month of June is. One of my highlights that has encompassed the month of June and also into July is a class with Kelly Fitzgerald, and it's a class about Kelly's deck, which is called Nellie's deck. Kelly has a number of decks. Nellie's deck is a Oracle, Lenormand, playing card, tarot mashup deck. I would say that it's a cartomancy deck first and foremost. And Kelly has a class of several weeks looking at the different systems in this deck and then looking at the system as a whole. I've taken this class once before, but when I did, Nellie's deck wasn't out yet. So I was learning about a deck that I didn't have. Now that I have it, the class is a lot more fun. So I've been really enjoying using this, and particularly kind of leaning more into the playing card aspect of this deck for kind of what's up today, kind of morning check-in readings and a couple of larger readings. I've been really enjoying this class. So that's one part of June that has been great. I have discovered in the month of June, and I think I probably knew this somewhere, but I hadn't really explored it at all. I think I might really like weather stations. My neighbor is a weather monitoring enthusiast, and he has all kinds of things, mounted in his backyard and stuck to the side of his house, and he tracks the radar to see what's coming on the radar weather-wise, and is really into this. And he has lent me one of his spare, because there are several, spare monitoring screens. So I've been having this screen that shows things like the temperature and the wind speed and the kind of barometric pressure, humidity, things like that, based on this monitoring equipment that is in my neighbor's yard. And I'm just having a great time incorporating this into different aspects of my druidry practice. Checking in with nature for the day is something that I like to do, and that tends to consist of a mix of looking at the astrological transits for the day, going outside and saying hi to outdoors, basically hi to the sun, and just seeing how things feel, jotting down a few impressions. And I really like having this weather station screen where I can see these different aspects of the weather without having to go and log onto my computer or look at my phone. I'm having struggles with the relationship with my cell phone that are not new but are feeling intense lately. I don't want to look at my phone very much. I like to treat it as kind of a landline phone when I'm at home. So being able to just leave that and being able to have this weather station where I can get this information is really fun. So I'm thinking that I'm probably, I think I've caught the weather station bug from my neighbor, and I'm probably going to have a weather station to show off in the not too distant future. This is just a borrow of the screen, so this has been a fun exploration this month. I've just had it for a couple of weeks, and I'm really into it. And I feel like a big nerd sharing that, but there it is. I'm really into it. I, of course, had Solstice in June. So for Solstice, I had ritual solo at home in the kind of AODA Druidry ritual format, at least the Grove opening and closing parts. In the context of that ritual, I did a lot of kind of refreshing my space, so I changed out my seasonal cloth on my tarot reading and divination and journaling table, and some of the different little decor items that I have that are kind of seasonal, I switched those out. I've had to kind of pare down. I have a table where I have different candles and things like this on it, and I've had to kind of pare down what I have on there because as his arthritis medication has taken effect, Daryl, my cat, has become more agile and more adventurous, and he has discovered this table, and he likes to knock things off, and he likes to try to eat things, so anything plant matter he's quite interested in, and his medical situation is such that he really shouldn't be eating things that aren't his food. So I have to figure out what I'm going to do with that space. But I had a great Solstice ritual, really nice, like low-key at home. And then I went to a big fire with my friends, which was fabulous. And we just got to catch up, hang out. These are friends that I mostly know like from high school, so going back over 20 years now. But I get to see a few of them every so often, and there's a few that I do keep in regular touch with. And in the context of going to that Solstice fire, I also ended up buying concert tickets to go with my friends. So we're going to go to see Streetlight Manifesto in Toronto in August, and I'm looking forward to that. So that was a good holiday time, really good. I got to hang out with my grandmother, who is awesome and 97, just had her birthday. And we got to go swimming and just had a great time. So June was a good month. Another highlight of June for me is that I have started another class, which is the Hellenistic astrology class offered by Chris Brennan. This is a class that's been on my radar for some time, and it's definitely a direction astrology-wise that I've been wanting to go in. I've been investigating some different classes and different learning options. Thank you for the handful of you who I reached out to about this, who I thought might have some familiarity with these different courses. I really appreciate people emailing me back and letting me know what they thought about things. I am happy with my choice in class so far. I'm not very far in. There's a lot of content, but I've been learning a lot in terms of the historical context and philosophical, intellectual context of Hellenistic astrology, so that has been really interesting as well, and I'm really enjoying the reading and learning with that. I think it will be a class that will take me a long time to complete. There's a lot of material, a lot of video content. Some of it is supplemental, some of it is kind of required, but it's definitely something that I'm going to really take my time with. It is self-paced, so I'm learning a lot. And I'm enjoying that. Next up for the recap, decks that I have purchased or received in June. 0. So that's a quick section. Moving along. Decks that I have worked with the most this month in June. It feels weird to say this month when I'm filming in July. Also, this past month, June. Decks I've worked with the most. I've already mentioned Nellie's deck, which is a great one that I really like using. I have also been really enjoying the Tree Whisper Oracle by Mags Black. This is a really good one. This is one that I was quite frankly drawn to because the creator is also a druid. That is really the reason that this joined my collection. I wasn't sure about it at first. The photos are more manipulated than what I usually work with, right? Folks who watch my channel know that I really like photographic decks. I really like naturescapes, architectural objects, tarot. I really like the one with the Earth Oracle by Kim at Abundant Life Tarot. There's a lot of those decks that I really like. And this one is a bit different from those, but I really, really like this. I really like this deck, and I have 2 of them. this one and the other version, and now there's a third one. I did not go in for the third one. I really like the ones that I have, and I feel happy with them, so I'm really enjoying this deck. And it feels very summery, and the cloth on my table for the summer is green, is a dark green, and this just looks so great with it. And so the Tree Whisper Oracle, this is the Secret Garden edition, so I've been enjoying that. Another summer oracle, it seems like I'm using a lot of oracle decks lately, is the Yummy Oracle by Aminat Oladipo. I really like this deck. This one is just so pretty, and it is also one of the very few collaborative decks with art by more than one artist that I really like. I find it very cohesive. I really like the guidebook. I tend to draw one of these and then read the guidebook. This is, you know, one that the Pantheon is not one that I'm the most familiar with. I'm learning. I've done some reading, but I do really like going to the guidebook for this one. And it's just beautiful and so summery. And I love the back, so I'll show the back. Very pretty. Very beautiful deck. And I have done some tarot reading as well. And one of the tarot decks that I've used the most in June, is perhaps not very surprising, is the Great Lakes Tarot. So this is a summery deck for me. I mean, it's all seasons, but I'm seeing a lot more wildlife during the summer when I'm out and about, canoeing and camping and such. So it particularly appeals in the summer. And so I've been really enjoying working with this deck, the Great Lakes Tarot. So that's what I've been working with. Books that I have read this month. I have read a few, and I'm looking over there because that's where my list is. I finished 8 books in June, and I did not stick to my TBR. I did not finish things that I wanted to finish. If you've watched my July TBR video, you know that there are some June books making a reappearance. In one case, you know, one that I'm partway through, in another case, one that I just did not even start. I've been all over the place, and part of the blame / credit for that is the astrology study. I've been doing a lot of reading there. So my books, you know, I didn't get quite as many books read as I thought I would, or exactly the same books as I thought I would. The first book I'll mention, and this is in no particular order as per usual, is a book I read for Historathon, the year-long readathon focused on nonfiction history. And that book is A Kingdom of Stargazers, Astrology and Authority in the Late Medieval Crown of Aragon by Michael A. Ryan. This was good. It's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's a look at how 3 different successive rulers engaged with or didn't engage with astrology over the course of their, you know, time of leadership. And the author, you know, essentially makes an argument that the extent to which different kings were able to engage or not engage with practices like astrology had a lot to do with how consolidated their power was, how strong their hold over their courts were. And it was a very well researched book. It is a time period that I really have never read anything about until now, so I appreciate Historathon for bringing me to something that I wouldn't have necessarily picked up otherwise. So far for Historathon, I'm now through 2 out of the 4 time periods. The 4 prompts are 4 time periods. And so far I've been reading books about divination, so I don't know if we'll keep that going for the 3rd quarter or not. But you know, this was good if you are interested in the history of astrology, and particularly the history of astrology and its role in different cultural and political contexts. Then I think that this book might be of interest to you. Otherwise, it probably won't be. That's my thoughts. I did think it was very, you know, it was well researched. It's an academic book. I enjoyed the writing style. I learned lots of interesting things about a time period I didn't know much about. So that was a good read. I just recently finished a book by an author who I've mentioned several times on this channel, and that's Raja Shahade. I just finished his book, We Could Have Been Friends, My Father and I, a Palestinian memoir. I read this for my friend Katie Flowers' Blossom Book Club, which she hosts on Patreon. We have read Raja Shahade together before and discussed his work, and I'm looking forward to discussing this one with Katie and the other folks in the book club as well. This book is about the author's father, the author's relationship with his father. Both the author and his father are, or were in the case of his father, lawyers in Palestine, and his father was murdered. And the book mentions that as of the time of publication, which was very recently, that the author has not been able to access all of the information in the kind of file related to the investigation into his father's death, and why the investigation was stopped before any kind of resolution was reached or anything was solved, basically. And it is an emotional read. You know, his relationship with his father was strained in various ways and for various reasons over the course of their lives. He discusses different parallels between the work that his father did as a lawyer and the work that he has done, particularly around human rights, around the rights of refugees, Palestinian refugees who've been forced from their homes specifically, and around kind of political organizing, I guess, in various kinds of ways. They not necessarily organizing, but certainly engagement with political process, we'll say, and how the author and his father navigated those different kind of categories of work and things that he's learned from his father and perhaps could have learned sooner from his father and discussed with his father while he was alive had he asked more questions when he was there, or taken more interest in that. So I really enjoy, I would say, reading Raja Shahade. It's his work is not easy to read. Enjoy is a strange word. I think I've given 5 stars to everything he's written. You know, he's an excellent writer as a memoirist, as a political analyst, we'll say. I really respect and appreciate and I'm grateful for his work, and I'm really glad that, you know, in Katie Flowers Book Club that we have gotten to read it together and now get to again. I read the Marseille Tarot Revealed by Yoav Ben-Dov this year. This past month, rather, which is part of this year. This one has been on my shelf forever. And I do try to get through things that are on my hard copy TBR shelf and not just let them pile up into infinity. So I decided to work my way through this, and I have mixed feelings about this book. Some of the history is not so good. And in terms of that, there isn't any kind of, you know what I'm going to say, there isn't any bibliography or citations for the historical claims in this book. I think some of them are questionable. I did like learning about the idea of open reading as an approach. I found the author's descriptions of the cards and just, you know, looking at the details of the artwork to be really interesting. I like Yoav Ben-Dov's writing style very much. I would say that I definitely got something out of this. I'm glad that I read it. I'm not going to say that it's my absolute favorite tarot book that I've ever come across, but it has a lot of interesting food for thought. You know, he goes through the colors in the cards, directionality, the way that characters are facing, things that they're holding, folds in the fabric of their clothing, background details. And yeah, it's a fascinating read. And some of the kind of techniques that he describes in the example readings, I really liked. So if you're interested in learning Marseille, this is a very well-known and widely recommended book. I think it's kind of a classic in terms of Marseille reading, and I would absolutely say that it is worth picking it up and giving it a read through for sure. In terms of divinatory books, I also read the guidebook to Nellie's Deck by Kelly Fitzgerald, and this is a book that is a really interesting one as a guidebook. So each card is accompanied by a journal entry by Nellie. So Nellie's Deck, refers to a woman who is a lighthouse keeper who, goes, who travels to America to tend a lighthouse. And the way that this is put together is just really interesting. So you get for each card a kind of entry by Nellie in her journal. You also get playing card, oracle symbol, and tarot kind of meanings and associations for each card. And then there are some extra information at the back in terms of deck structure, example spreads, things like this. And all through the book, there are different little ephemera tucked inside, as if this is, Nellie's own journal where she has kept things that she has come across. Now this is, I believe, completely out of print. You can get the Nellie's Deck with the content of this as an ebook, but I don't think that this, there's even a feather inside. There's a feather inside. I don't think that you can get this book anymore. I think that it was a one-off print run, and now it's digital, kind of print on demand style. I love this. This is a guidebook that I cherish. This has to be one of the best guidebooks that I have ever read for any oracle deck or tarot deck ever. It is thoughtful. The narrative is powerful. I can't say anything but good things about this. It's absolutely fabulous. This was a reread. I'd read the book before, but I wanted to read it again with working with Nellie's Deck this past month, and I'm glad that I did. I read a short novel called Kondo Wakes Up by Saad Zed Hossein. I have read Hossein before. I read one of his books last year. And he has a series. I think the first book is Jinn City, which I haven't read. And there's kind of some commonalities across these different books, but they're not. It's not a linear trajectory following one character or anything. So, Kondo Wakes Up is a story in which the main character is looking for people who've gone missing, including his wife. And if you haven't read Saad Zed Hossein's work, it's hard to convey the tone as a mix of comedic and, politically salient and environmentalist, certainly in this case, commentary on technology and our relationship with technology and the environment. And it's a short book, so it's hard to not give spoilers while giving any sense of the substance. But it is set in this kind of, not quite post-apocalyptic, but certainly a setting in which climate change has brought catastrophe to the natural environment. The extent to which it is livable is questionable and inconsistent from place to place. And such a fascinating book. I want to read all of his book. They're so unlike anything that I've ever read before. So I'm glad that I got to read that one, and definitely the rest of his are on my list. I read an anthology called Embroidered Worlds, Fantastic Fiction from Ukraine and the Diaspora. This is, as it suggests, a collection of speculative sci-fi, horror, fantasy, short fiction by very predominantly Ukrainian authors, many of them in translation, as well as some Ukrainian diasporic authors as well. This is a book that I backed on Kickstarter. I have backed some different kind of magazines and books and things on Kickstarter, not just decks. And so I backed for an ebook copy of this project. And so I've had it on my e-reader for a while and finally got around to it. And this was really good. I, inevitably with any kind of collection of short stories by different authors, liked some of them more than others. Overall, though, I thought it was quite strong as a collection. I did appreciate and find fascinating the kind of introductory sections of the book that gave some context to the project and some context to some of the different authors. They do include content warnings that break down content warnings on a kind of story-by-story basis at the beginning of the book, which I also appreciated. There are some content in the book I would say that is quite difficult. Of course, that's different kind of person to person, but there's definitely some challenging themes there, perhaps unsurprisingly so. I did enjoy this collection quite a lot. I read a novel, I just finished this one actually, called Blackheart Man by Nalo Hopkinson. Nalo Hopkinson is a extraordinarily accomplished, incredible author who has written many, many excellent books that I have enjoyed very much. Blackheart Man is a new, I think it may still be forthcoming actually, novel. I got this as a ARC from the publisher. Thank you, publisher. Blackheart Man is a fantastical story. It is definitely set in a Caribbean-inspired setting. Nalo Hopkinson was born in Jamaica and has spent much time, growing up in the Caribbean. And this is interesting. The main character of this book, he wants to help his community so much, but definitely makes some very serious mistakes in the course of the book. The book follows this community that is approached by ships from another place that has previously kind of occupied and fought against them and is coming to try to impose particular kinds of trade relations and is going to invade, basically. And the main character is trying to contribute to thwarting this and doesn't have the most success. I don't want to spoil anything too much. Definitely some issues. What I really liked about this was the world building. It felt so complete and cohesive and like a real universe, a real community with kind of cultural and religious and political and social dynamics that made sense. In this community, marriages are between 3 people, which I thought was interesting. There's all of these different kinds of norms, social norms, gender norms, sexual norms in this world that I really appreciated how they were represented. I think that this is a standalone novel to the absolute best of my knowledge, but if there was another published in this world, I would definitely take a look at it. I quite enjoyed it. The last one I read, and I just finished this one, is Shigidi and the Brass Head of Obalufon by Wole Talabi. I have read Wole Talabi before as a short fiction author. I have never read a novel from him. I believe this is his novel debut. This came out in 2023, late 2023. It has been on my list since, And this is a fantastical novel in which different pantheons, spiritual pantheons of deities, are effectively corporate boards. And it focuses specifically on the Orisha pantheon. Wole Talibi is a Nigerian author. And a employee of the Orisha spirit board who is a god of nightmares, who essentially, gets his independence and becomes a kind of an independent contractor, we'll say, alongside a succubus character. And they go on a adventure, which is actually a heist. And the heist takes up a relatively small amount of the book, actually. There's a lot of other things going on. It's a non-linear timeline. I really liked the non-linear timeline a lot. There are definitely, for me, in this one, there are some gender issues in terms of some of the things I think that happened in this book. I think having a character who's a succubus is just challenging. And I think that in some ways that was handled really well, and in a couple of very specific ways relating to consent, I would say that it was not. So there's some issues there. There's a lot I really liked about this. Aleister Crowley shows up as a character, which I did not expect. I did not read any reviews prior to reading this. But he turns up in the story, and the problematics of Crowley, we'll say, are definitely tackled and named in the book in a way that I really appreciate. So there's a lot of interesting things about this book. I really like Talibi as a short fiction author, and I would read another novel from him in a second. There were just some things about this that didn't quite 100% work for me, related to kind of gendered depictions very specifically. The last thing I'll mention in terms of books is that I am still facilitating, it started a couple of days ago. I am still facilitating a group read of Parable of the Sower by Octavia E. Butler on Discord. If you want to participate, it is not too late. Most of us, I think, have read the first few chapters and not much further, and that's where the discussion is at right now. So if you want to join the Discord server where we're talking about this, just email me at aquamarinexvii or 18 in Roman numerals @gmail.com. That's on my YouTube page as well. You can find my email address there, and I will get you into the Discord, and you're welcome to participate with us. We've had some good discussion so far. It is a challenging read. It is a really challenging read, and it's a challenging read now in 2024 when this book is set. In particular sorts of ways. I think that all of Octavia Butler's work is challenging in different ways. I've never read anything by her that I would say is an easy, straightforward, kind of a text. Her texts need to be thought critically about and grappled with and processed in particular kinds of ways. She's one of my absolute favorite authors of all time, and I'm really happy that quite a few folks have joined to participate and are chatting with me about this. So I'm hoping to read the sequel this year as well. I think I will need a break. I'm not going to do Parable of the Talents in August, but maybe later in the year we'll do that as well. Next month, for August TBR, I plan to do sequels, but that's not going to be one. I'm inspired to do a month of sequels because of Jeff Vandermeer just coming out with a 4th Area X book. Surprise. I'm really excited to read that, so I'm thinking about sequels and thinking about series, and I have quite a few on the go, to nobody's surprise, that are not done. So I'll be reading sequels. Finally, deck collection wish list. I feel really good in my decks lately. I kind of don't have a wish list. I have my list that I've shared previously, and I have not written in it or scratched anything off of it or checked anything off of it since the last time I talked about this in my last monthly recap. So there are still some forthcoming decks that I'm really interested in. I want to see what happens with the new Blood Moon Tarot that's forthcoming. I want to see what the Endless Tarot, you know, to go with the Endless Oracle looks like. That's forthcoming. Like, these are not decks that are currently available. There's nothing that I'm planning to purchase in the immediate future. Like, there's nothing that I necessarily plan to purchase for sure. I did back on Kickstarter. I backed the Into the Void Black Cat Tarot campaign, which is going on right now at the time of filming this and runs till July 20th. I have this deck. It was a fairly impulsive purchase inspired by B at iCali Sunflower, and one that I do not regret. I adore this deck. I backed the campaign for a t-shirt. And I really want a t-shirt. So if you're thinking about this deck, you know, I would encourage supporting the campaign. The creator's great. There's lots of nice treats on the campaign there. But the deck I do already have. So I hope that the campaign goes so that I can have my Into the Void Black Cat Faces t-shirt. I'm also feeling quite interested in the Tarot Sirena by Mr. Freeborg, which is a mermaid deck. I do already have a mermaid deck in my collection that I like, but it is very different because it's a Marseille. I have the Tarot Sirène. This was not really on my radar, the Sirena deck, but it's beautiful, and so I'm seriously thinking about it. Mermaids feel very summery to me now. Obviously, I know with a Kickstarter I would not be receiving the deck immediately, but it is a deck that I'm intrigued by, and I have not been intrigued by much on Kickstarter lately, I will say. I go on and browse and just find AI, and I'm not interested, so I haven't really been that interested in much, but the mermaid deck by Mr. Freeborg looks beautiful, so I'm going to give that one a closer look. It's not one that has been on the wish list, as you know. It's just something that's kind of popped up that I thought, wow, that's a very attractive deck. So I'm going to look at that, but not sure what will happen there. There's nothing that I'm immediately expecting. I am looking forward to getting my items from the Deck for Wonder Walking campaign, but that also is a deck that I already have, so I actually just backed for the new Night Walking book. So I'm looking forward to that book and getting out that deck to use with that book. But that is what's on the horizon for me for decks. Let me know if you're eagerly awaiting anything in particular. I like to know and chat about decks that are coming out. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again soon. I wish you a happy July.